Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 20th April 2020. Day is Monday. And I would like to start today's discussion with this important quote. Stress is the trash of modern life. We all generate it, but if you don't dispose of it properly, it will pile up and overtake your life. Think about it. Dear friends, there are so many diseases in today's world. If you go through the root, if you find the main root or the main cause for this disease, for example, I don't want to name any diseases, but if you go through some medical science books as well as some famous books written on stress and other things, then you will find that there are so many diseases, right? Their origination point is stress. So stress is a very dangerous thing, and we should know how to dispose it properly. There are various different ways. Few I know is meditation, exercise, and staying positive. With this, dear friends, as you can see on your screen, there are many articles, but we are not going to go through all of them because all of them are not important for you. I have 3 articles that are important for your examination. The first one is Focus on the Curve. This editorial is talking about the quantity of this coronavirus cases, and it is also suggesting few solutions, few ways through which we can get rid of it or eliminate it. The second one is Economy in Lockdown. This one is about IMF, International Monetary Fund, and its projection. I'm also going to share some basic facts about IMF with you guys today. The third one is A Shot of Hope with a Game-Changing Vaccine. And here the game-changing vaccine is social vaccine. Very, very important concept in my opinion. I think you will find a question based on social vaccine in your mains examination. You never know. But I think this one is a very important topic. I have one more article for you guys. This one is from different newspaper. I will give you a brief when we'll reach there. So let's crack on. Dear friends, I have a good news for you. Good news is that we have launched our smart course. This one is particularly for UPSC, and it covers both prelims as well as mains examination. EMI is available, and to find out more about it, all you have to do is download our application and go through our smart course. With this, dear friends, if you want to download the PDF of today's lecture, check out my Telegram channel. You can follow me. You can get in touch with me via FB, that is Facebook. And please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So, dear friends, the first one is Focus on the Curve. 20th April, that is today. We are going to see some sort of relaxation, partial relaxation. Will be allowed in those pockets, green pockets, or green, those areas that are falling under this category of green zone. They don't have any new cases, or they have 0 cases from since last 28 days. So these areas, they will see a bit of relaxation. Other areas, for example, red zone, of course, a big no. In yellow zone, few activities will be allowed. So basically, what government is trying to achieve here is we don't want our economy to rock bottom, right? We want to make sure that we don't cross that line from where there is no return point. So this is the reason why we are starting this partial relaxation. Now, Health Ministry, as per Health Ministry, growth in total cases of coronavirus was slower, and the slowing pace of case of doubling, right? This cases that are doubling. Its pace or speed has also it's low at present. It's not that high. But I think we have to be careful about this thing. The big warning is that the more tests we are conducting, the more number of cases we are finding. Like, for example, Delhi has ramped up tests per million people, and also reported a higher percentage of positive cases. If you go through today's news items, which of course we have covered, we'll talk about it when we'll reach there. But the brief is that Arvind Kejriwal, the CM of Delhi, he had a press conference yesterday, and he said this thing clearly that Delhi will not allow any sort of relaxation. The lockdown is going to continue. because the more people they are scanning or testing, the more cases are coming out as well. And the matter of concern is asymptomatic cases, this sort of cases, right, where a person will not realize that he or she is infected with this coronavirus. And this sort of cases are coming out as well. So the more tests we are conducting, the more numbers are coming out. So it should be like a warning. We should be very careful with this relaxation. When we are going ahead with this relaxation, we have to understand that it should be calibrated, it should be calculated relaxation. West Bengal and Madhya Pradesh, where few tests are in comparison with Delhi and other places, tests are not that much, but then as well, positive cases and its share is quite high. There are a few good examples like Kerala. You have in today's news example of Goa, right? You have few cases or few examples of few states where performance is quite well, but then as well they have to be very careful. The shocking thing is last Saturday, that is 18th April, India registered 2,154 cases in a single day. This is the first time that we have crossed this 2,000 mark. And we still don't know, right? Uncertainties are still there about this long-term effect of SARS-CoV-2 or this coronavirus on people, or those people who have recovered from this severe infection, how this will change their life in terms of their health, right? Is it going to create some sort of new problems with their health? We don't know yet. What India is trying to achieve at present is we are trying to achieve this balance. We want to save lives as well as we want to save our economy, which is a quite logical thing to do. But we have to understand this thing that the tests that we are doing are not enough. We need to push the pedal a bit more, right? We need more tests, and all the data that you are getting via this test, you have to share it with various different organizations. When I say organizations, I mean to say state level organizations, state governments, district government. They should have a platform through which they can check, they can get this real time information about these tests that are going on. Pandemics have the ability to quickly expose underlying inequalities, and that's what we have uncovered. I think this inequalities, we were aware about this inequalities, but we got so used to with it that we were not taking it that seriously. I'll give you just one example of inequality, and this is purely from money point of view. The way this whole coronavirus has exposed this thing, that see, poor people, what happened, this migrant labor exodus. So this reminds us that poor people are working in big factories, right? They are baking, beg your pardon, they are breaking their back to run this businesses, and these businesses, they are making money in crores. But then as well, they are not giving all those social security like insurance, health facilities, residential areas, or shelter for these people to live. Basic human facilities are not provided. And the sad thing is that we find this sort of inequalities in various different sectors. I'll give you one example, then I will leave on you guys to observe this thing. Right? I want you guys to analyze this thing by yourself. You know about many big brands. I would not like to take names of those brands, right? That won't be fair. But the thing is, we have big brands. They sell their jeans and t-shirts and their other clothing accessories and other things. Very expensive items, right? 10,000 for one jeans, or maybe 20,000 as well. But if you see the people who are making it, their working condition, they don't get social security, they don't get health insurance, they don't get any holidays or paid holidays, and once a year, 21 days, day off and things. And they have to work, for long hours. A healthy person who starts this job after maybe 10 years, maybe 12 years, you find so many other issues that they face through. They have, issues with their digestion because they are sitting for a long hour. They don't, eyes issues, and there are so many other things, right? This is all happening because we have never paid attention to this sort of things. Means it was like sab chalta hai, and everything is going okay. This sort of attitude was there. But I think this COVID-19 will create a sort of revolution, and I think there should be a revolution. When I say revolution, I mean to say that we need to change the way we are doing, or the way we are operating this world. Too much of carbon dioxide and inequality, distribution of wealth is not fair, and there are so many other things, right? In terms of our health system, we cannot have just one big hospital in your city, and we know it very well that one hospital is not going to cater if something like this goes on. Or even if in a marriage function, if let's say 100, 200 people, if they get food poison, then as well our government hospitals cannot handle it. We don't have that capacity. So rather than having a centralized medical facility, why can't we have multiple mohalla type hospitals, or we can have, like, in one area you can have one or two hospitals, then you can have some big hospitals, like maybe a city like a two tier city, you can have 2 hospitals or 3 hospitals, or maybe 4, but not that big, tiny ones, so that they can, when I say tiny, I mean to say that rather than having a gigantic one, you can have 4 small hospitals that can cover various different areas, and then you can have local clinics, so primary, secondary and tertiary care. We need this thing. So this is just one example that these are the things that I believe people will demand. Once this water will settle, then people will ask for more things, and that's how it should be. Second one is about economy in lockdown. This one is about great lockdown. I think after 10 years, maybe 20 years, this whole phase of coronavirus will be known as great lockdown, or a period of great lockdown. Back in 1930s, the recession was considered, or is now known as Great Depression. So I think in future this great lockdown will be the term for this phase through which we are going at present. Now, great lockdown has forced the IMF to junk all its previous projections for economic output in 2020. And why not? Because things have changed. Back in January, IMF said that global growth is going to be 3.3%. But latest projection is it has slashed 6.3 percentage point from global growth. So the global growth this year is going to be minus 3%, right? Minus 3%. And this is big. Compare this minus 3 with a minus 0.1% of 2009 recession. So in 2009 recession, the world's GDP growth rate was minus 0.1%, and that was very painful. So can you imagine the impact of minus 3%? IMF has also said this thing, that the current crisis is like no other crisis. Now let me throw some more light on IMF. International Monetary Fund promotes international financial stability and monetary cooperation. It also facilitates international trade, promotes employment and sustainable economic growth, and helps to reduce global poverty. The IMF is governed by and accountable to its 189 member countries. It was established in 1944. 189 member countries, 147 nationalities are represented by its staff. 24 executive directors are there. It has capacity of lending $1 trillion. 36 current lending arrangements are going on. 0% interest rate on loans to low-income countries, $303 million for hands-on technical advice, policy-oriented training, and peer learning. I have one question for you. Can you tell me, where do you find the headquarter of this International Monetary Fund? If you know the answer, stick your answer in the comment section. Or if you are watching it as a premiere, you can stick your answer in the chat box. Now, do you know that IMF works with member countries to modernize their economic policies and institutions? IMF provides financial support and works with governments to ensure responsible spending, and IMF gives advice on how to achieve economic stability, prevent financial crises, and improve living standards. As far as India is concerned, IMF has cut its projection for growth in the fiscal year that started on 1st April. So this whole year, India's growth earlier Earlier on, IMF said that it's going to be somewhere around 5.8, but the latest figure by IMF is 1.9, which I think is not that bad if you compare it with USA and other developed countries. Their economy is going to shrink. They are going to be in negative. At least we are going to be in 1.9 or in positive zone. So it's not impressive, but still it's not that bad. Geeta Gopinathan has advocated ramping up broad-based coordinated stimulus once the disease has been once the disease has been contained. And she has also said that IMF has said that we need more fiscal measures as well as we need more monetary measures. The government has to inject money. Stimulus should be provided. And if we compare what we have released compared to countries like UK, USA, Germany and other countries, then we have done very little. But I think we don't have that many money as well, that much money. And the second thing is we don't have that many cases either. But still, right, if you go through Economic Times graphic, and I explained this graphic last Saturday on 18th April 2020, daily financial news analysis, I have explained most of the points that you can see on your screen. So very briefly, if you want to go through it, then you can go through that lecture of 18th April, a daily financial news analysis available on our StudyIQ education platform. Or else let me give you one figure that it is said by experts that India has to spend 9% of our GDP, and 9% of our GDP is 17.5 lakh crore rupees. This is the amount that India should spend. India has spent somewhere around 0.7 or less than 1% at present. So we need to add huge amount of money, a big stimulus package we have to release, to particularly to reach out to each and every individual, particularly those vulnerable sections, those MSMEs, right, those big industries and other players in our economical world as well as society. Then we have a very interesting article, A Shot of Hope with a Game-Changing Vaccine. From 24th March to 14th April, if you go through the figure in our country as far as this COVID-19 cases are concerned, the cases have gone up 20-fold and death toll has gone up 36 times. As I already told you, testing is still inadequate and the fatality rate of India is 2 to 3%. That means if 100 people will get this coronavirus, then 3 will definitely die, right? This is a case fatality rate of our country. And the most dangerous thing about this coronavirus is that we are finding asymptomatic, mildly symptomatic and pre-symptomatic people, and they are undetected. So in this article, this article's main focus is social vaccine. Now this word was in news because Harsh Vardhan, our health minister, he said that lockdowns and social distancing are the most effective social vaccines available to fight the pandemic. So what is social vaccine? Social vaccine is a metaphor for a series of social and behavioral measures that governments can use to raise public consciousness about unhealthy situations through social mobilization. It's basically about creating awareness, right? It is basically about awe-inspiring people, educating people about the problem that we are facing. And if you cannot take people on board, if people will not cooperate, then you cannot control this sort of issues. You cannot expect to win this sort of threats. And this threat is not for just one government or one particular region. This, as we all know, is for the whole humanity. Social mobilization can empower populations to resist unhealthy practices. Of course, if you see someone not wearing mask in a train, then in future, right? And I think masks are going to stay with us. When I say mask, I basically mean like you have to cover your mouth and nose, right, in public places. Either if you are using a handkerchief or a bandana or maybe a proper mask, but you have to wear something that covers you. So in case if you sneeze or cough, right, this fluids will not spread to other people. And this will also protect you from other people. So just imagine, right, if you're traveling in a train or a bus and if you find one or two people, they are not wearing mask or anything, then of course you will find people, they will clearly tell them assertively that, oh, put your mask or something on, right, or else they will have to complain it to the bus conductor or maybe the driver. And I think if you have conductors, then bus conductors will also not allow those people who are not wearing mask or covering their face. And if someone, after entering the bus or any public places, if they're taking it off, then as well they will see people resisting it. So all this thing is possible because a sort of awareness. People are now they are partners in this fight against coronavirus, right? I'm just giving you an imaginary scenario. Just imagine the same thing with Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or this Clean India mission, right? Earlier on, I'm sure you have seen people, relieving themselves in open area, and we have seen people littering here and there. They are throwing their garbage here and there. But now, I think there is this awareness that people will resist this sort of. People will, if someone is throwing garbage here and there, then as well people will, they will, some of them will, the bold ones, they will tell them clearly that, oh, don't do this thing over here, isn't it? So this is possible because of this awareness, and this is a sort of vaccine. The way it is a vaccine is because it creates that awareness. It will make people partner in the fight. And when you have government as well as people working together, then only you can break this chain. A social vaccine addresses barriers and facilitators of behavior change, whether attitudinal, social, cultural, or economic, and supplements information, education, and communication with targeted social and behavioral change communication strategies. Back in 1995, Uganda and Thailand, they did the same thing with AIDS. Now, before we move on, I have one question for you. Can you give me the capital of Uganda? And can you also tell me with how many countries this country is sharing its land boundary, with how many countries, land boundary or boundaries, of course. So 1995, both countries, Uganda and Thailand, they started this social vaccine thing, and with the help of this, they flattened the curve of this AIDS. Now, HIV, basic fact, let me quickly throw some light on this thing. Human immunodeficiency virus is known as HIV. This is a virus that causes this disease called acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS. So, with AIDS, it is believed that people got it from monkeys. It's a zoonotic disease that people got from monkeys back in 1920s. In 1981, it was detected, and it became a pandemic in 1985. People were afraid of this, big time. This global panic was there with this HIV/AIDS, and the cause was unknown till 1984, and diagnostic tests were unavailable till 1985. Since there was no treatment, a diagnosis of HIV infection was a death sentence. Stigma, discrimination, and violence towards infected individuals, their families, social groups, sex workers, gay men, drug users, truck drivers, migrants, and even health workers were very common. Something that we find not, of course, sex workers and drug users. I'm not talking about truck drivers and migrants yet, but as far as health workers are concerned, we have discussed this thing. Particularly, I told you about the example of UK nurses, that we got similar cases in our country. Prime Minister as well expressed his displeasure about some people are booing this healthcare workers. Some people are saying that blaming healthcare workers behind the spread of this coronavirus. And we also saw that in few areas in our country, these healthcare workers were attacked as well. So this is because of, lack of information. This is because of fake information. This is because of misinformation and propaganda and other things. Now, the core preventive messages involved being faithful, means when this whole AIDS thing was going on. So how this Thailand and Uganda, they controlled it. They started this core message that stay faithful with your one sexual partner. If you're going out, then make sure that, when I say going out, I mean to say if you're going to have sexual intercourse outside your stable relationship, then make sure you use condom. Then not using this drug use and other things became part of the culture. And so many things that were quite normal, culturally, socially, religiously, behavioral, legal norms, so many things changed. I'll give you an example of religion. right? I'm not saying that religion itself is promoting this sort of things, but I think a few people who, like priest, when I say priest, I don't mean to, I'm just using this word in English language, priest. It applies to the word mullahs, it applies to the word pandits, it applies to the word those priests that we find in church and any other religion, right? So I think in every religion you have this sort of people, not all, but there are a few for sure, and I think they don't understand religion that properly. They are like, they have got all those rotten knowledge. So there was a time, and I think even today as well, there are a few priests, they say that using condom, contraceptive pill and this sort of things is against the will of God. And this is something that was going on in Uganda as well. Uganda's Catholic Church back in 80s, it used to oppose this use of condom. But after that, when so many people died because of this AIDS and other things, then beg your pardon, not court, but this Catholic Church, it changed its stand, and that's a good thing. That's a good reform. And now, contraceptive pills, and there are so many other things, right? Medicines as well. There is a very, I'm not sure whether I can say interesting film, but if you have time, then in future, go through this film, Ship of Theseus. I think that's the name of the film. It's been made by Kiran Rao, her name is. She's the missus of Amir Khan. So her film, Ship of Theseus, in that there is a story about a monk who is not ready to take medicine because he believes that medicines are made from, and not believed, but he knows that these medicines are made from fish or animals, and because of this thing, this industry is going on, and he falls ill and things like that. But later on, I think he changes his stance, and finally he takes that medicine. So I think that's how it's been many years, but I have just randomly I got this example in my mind, so I thought let me share it with you guys. So there are so many, some of our beliefs, right? There was this belief that if you touch someone, if someone has got AIDS, and if you touch that person, then you will get AIDS too. So many this sort of myths and other things, cultural things. People used to attack those hippie people, right? Because they believed, some societies, they believed that these hippie people are spreading this AIDS everywhere. So with the help of this right marketing, social marketing, with the right advertisement, with the right stand, things changed in our country as well. Campaigns means early on, talking about condoms, talking about sex and all these things, they were part of taboo topics. But now you find these advertisements at public places as well, because it is for public good. So the whole central idea of this article is about the same thing. Social vaccine is where you make people partner, right information in a right way. When you spread it, then you can stop this sort of diseases, and this will be a sort of lesson as well for us for future epidemics. So a social vaccine also requires people to hold leaders accountable to invest rapidly scaling up testing, meet the basic and economic needs of vulnerable sections. I was talking about this revolution, isn't it? That we will find revolution about medicines, and when I say medicines, I mean to say medical science and hospitals. So something like that, providing psychological support, not communalizing or politicizing the pandemic, providing adequate PPE in frontline workers in health, sanitation, transport and other essential services, not compromising the privacy and dignity of infected individuals and their families in the interest of public health. And building trust is the key. So it is the government, they have to build this trust, and once you have the trust, then of course people will follow you if you can lead them. The last article is written by a former diplomat. His name is Ujjal Singh Bhatia. He is a writer as well as this former ambassador of India to USA. From this picture, you can understand this. Every country is trying to attack this coronavirus, but we all are not on the same page. At the same time, if you observe this thing, then you will find that coronavirus has affected some of the most developed countries in the world, right? So this virus is not it doesn't matter if you are a rich country or poor country. And it is one thing that we have to understand. If this virus is even in, let's say if the whole world can get rid of this virus, but if you find this virus in a small pocket of a small country or maybe an island nation, then as well this virus is a threat for the whole world. So coronavirus is a common enemy of human beings, of our world, but we don't see that unity, and this is a very sad thing. USA and China, their war, or sort of you can say this, they are blaming each other. Their squabble is still going on. Strange behavior. President Trump's reported attempt to secure exclusive rights to German biopharma major CureVac's vaccine reflects a continuing preoccupation with his America First approach. I have one more sad example. On 3rd April, Wall Street Journal quoted the German official reported that a shipment of face masks destined for Germany, and it was seized at Bangkok airport, and it was diverted to USA in an act of modern piracy. Can you believe this thing? Like, now countries are snatching these masks and other necessary items from each other. Similar seizures and diversions were reported in other countries as well. So this is a very sad thing. Rather than fighting together, we are fighting with each other. China's authoritarian model and lack of transparency has clearly dented its global leadership credentials. Fragmented national responses will not help us, has been clearly said by this writer here. And he's also talking about this very natural thing that, of course, we are first going to focus on our own. We are going to look after our own back, isn't it? When it comes to fighting coronavirus, first a country will make sure that it is protected. But once you are protected, once you have enough things, then you should share it with other countries as well, because not for charity, because for necessity. Of course, charity as well, you can say, if you are doing it for charity, then as well it's good, but you have to share it, because as I told you, even if this coronavirus is left in a small island country, then as well it is a big threat for the whole world. So in India, the crisis has exposed vulnerabilities in key areas like protective equipment, diagnostics, critical pharmaceutical inputs, and we know that we are heavily dependent on Chinese API. So we need to change this thing as well. We need to adopt appropriate industrial policy tools so that in future we don't see this sort of situation. So this article is talking about 3 dimensions that we need to work, concerted global action is required on these 3 dimensions. The first one is free movement of medicine, supplies and services. When I say free, or when the writer is saying free, it does not mean that you don't have to charge. Free basically means you allow countries to share items with each other. The second one is development of necessary medical interventions involving diagnostics, drugs and vaccines, and their mass production and distribution around the world. Once you have developed a vaccine or diagnostic kits or drugs, then make sure that you produce it in masses and distribute it around the world. So for that, you need partnership. You need to bring on board other organizations as well. Now, work on the second dimension accelerated after the Chinese scientists provided this second dimension basically means this development of necessary medical interventions. We can see 100 drug treatments and vaccines are in development worldwide, including at least 70 candidate vaccines, and 3 of which are under clinical evaluation. And then once we get a breakthrough in it, then we need to produce it in masses. So this, for masses and for reaching out to each and every country, it is talking about 2 fronts. The first one is that technology and resources required for scaling up production. You need Gavi, you need SEPI, you need Gates Foundation, you need WHO, other governments, other organizations. You need to take them on board, and then you can increase your production. And second thing is to think about intellectual property right. At present, you cannot go ahead and say that your company or your country has found this medicine, so you will keep it with yourself, or only you have the right. You have to give license, and if you will not, then other countries, they will issue this compulsory licenses. They will give this permission to pharmaceutical companies to produce this or copy paste the formula, right? Because they will have no choice. So it is better that we cooperate with each other, coordinate, and then we can produce these medicines. And once we get a breakthrough, we can produce it and then we can distribute it. And WHO alone cannot do anything. There are countries, they are blaming WHO, but alone it cannot do anything. This is out of WHO's hand. We need whole UN system, WTO, WIPO, and G20 as well. They have to play their role. With this, dear friends, we reach to news items. E-commerce firms can't supply non-essential goods, has been said by Home Ministry. Goa is doing quite well. Goa is now COVID free. It used to have some 20 cases. The state had a total 7 cases, and all of them have recovered. So that's a good thing. 6 had travel history, and 1 got from his brother. So everyone is safe now. So that's a big achievement for Goa. Centre stops flight bookings. Centre has clearly directed that don't take flight bookings now, advance bookings, right? Wait. We'll let you know when to start this thing. At present, government cannot say anything about it. So it has ordered these flights or these companies to not take advance bookings. Confusion over mismatch in health ministries and ICMR's figures. ICMR said we got 1,000, total is 16,365 total cases, and health ministry said we are at 14,792. You have this infographic as well. It is giving you details about various different states, where they used to be and where they are now. So after downloading the PDF of today's lecture, please help yourself with it, and you can see this very strange photo, right? From bird's eye view, you can see that I don't think so we will ever see this sort of picture where you find this many trains, they are just lying idle or they are parked, right, because of this lockdown. Pharma units are still not able to operate freely. Their working capacity is 30 to 50%. Research driven players are working at 40 to 50% capacity. PM Cares donation. Now this is not fair. If you are automatically taking away salary of government staff, then this is not fair. You have to ask and let those who want to share money, right, they should have this choice. The government cannot force them. No relaxation in lockdown has been said by Kejriwal. As I have already told you that cases are going up, and these asymptomatic cases are also going up in Delhi. PM calls for unity in COVID-19 response. A very important news item. Prime Minister had a discussion with people on LinkedIn, particularly young professionals, and he talked about adopting technology to fight this, adapting technology to fight this, not adopting, adapting technology. That's a different thing. Adapting means we have to, adopting is a different thing, adapting is a different thing. I'm sure you know the difference. So new technology has helped all of us, right? At present, we are discussing this thing because of technology, and there are so many meetings that are going on various different platforms like online and WhatsApp, and because of technology is available. Prime Minister said that he also has to change the way he is working because he cannot meet people in person. So he's also using latest technology, and this latest technology can change. It has changed lives of so many poor people. It has eliminated middlemen and accelerated welfare measures. So there is more that we need to do for future, to come out of this corona crisis. And he also said this statement, which is very important. The statement was that he said that we need to have unity and brotherhood. This is clearly, he said, we need unity and brotherhood, or else we won't be able to fight. He said that this coronavirus does not see various different races, religion, caste, creed, color, language, and borders right before striking. It will strike every one of us. So we are all on the same page. Unity and brotherhood is something that we need. But OIC is blaming India. OIC is saying that Indian Muslims are under threat, and is calling Indian government to take steps of growing Islamophobia, which is of course not right at all, right? It's a sort of propaganda of OIC, and I think Pakistan is quite active in OIC, right? So every time Pakistan will not miss a chance to blame India and to spread this fake news. As you can see, the government is clearly saying, the Prime Minister is clearly saying that we need unity and brotherhood, and OIC is saying that India is not a safe place for Muslims. So that is quite controversial. And we get good news from Afghanistan, right? Afghan girls turn car parts into ventilators. So hats off to these girls. And that's everything in today's discussion. Thank you very much for watching this video. It's been 40 long minutes. I have already recorded the Hindu in Hindi, and this is another one. So takes a toll, right? But anyway, I get energy from you people. So thank you very much for your constant love and support. And I will see you with the daily financial news analysis. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Jai Hind.